Hey YouTube, it is the Ultra League and Psychic Cup. I put a top Psychic Cup Pokemon this morning, so you can go check out that video. Or you can play Ultra League, and Ultra League has been on for a while now. So what I can do is I got three parts of this video. I've got the rankings, top 1 to 20. I always go over like why they're ranked the way they are, and then I have a Jellicent comparison to look at Jellicent with Surf and how it's such an increase compared to Bubble Beam and Ice Beam. And then I got my top teams. So if you've seen this video multiple times, you kind of know the rankings. You can timestamp below where you want to jump to. If you're new to Ultra League, why are the top 20 ranked the way they are? So let's just start with Registeel. Let's just break it up into sort of, let's just start with Registeel, because 1 and 3, it's a beast. Those, even in Great League, you weren't gonna you one shot a few things. In Ultra League, it takes like 2 of these, but just like these are such hard hitting moves that and can hit almost everything for at least neutral. And it's such an overpowered Pokemon. You can draw fighters and still hit like neutral with Zap Cannon and stuff like that. So it's a very, very tough Pokemon. It's a very bulky Pokemon if you have like good IVs. So that's why it's ranked so highly up. Pidgeot is sort of a Sims hero because a lot of the times you can just like fake a Brave Bird and land a Feather Dance, and that lowers their attack substantially, and then you can just kind of Brave Bird next or lower their attack again. So it just depends how you want to play it. But it's one of those Pokemon that on the lead is very, very tricky because like, do you shield a Brave Bird, or do you not shield a Brave Bird and thinking that it's a Feather Dance, or you end up shielding a Feather Dance and just it's a waste of a shield plus lowering your attack? It's just a bad combo. So Pidgeot can be very, very annoying to go against. Giratina Altered, I think, is one of the best Pokemon in this meta. It's just so spammy. Even if you think you're in a bad matchup, you're not in a bad matchup. Like, get a full Fairy on there. Between the Shadow Claws and the Shadow Sneaks, those add up real quick, and you take a lot of damage because you're so bulky. So that is why it's so highly ranked. I can also go to Trevenant. Trevenant's kind of like a Giratina light, less bulky, harder hitting, right? Grass typing too, instead of the Dragon typing, but same sort of like Ghost play there. Plus, Trevenant is like one of the best answers for everything that's not Pidgeot, right? We'll do well against Registeel. We'll do decent against Giratina. We'll do well against Cresselia. We'll dominate Swampert. We'll do well against Jellicent now on this list, but like you don't have anything to throw at Pidgeot. So cover your Pidgeot weaknesses if you're going to run Trevenant. Cresselia, I think, is still one of like, between that and Giratina, the safe swaps in this meta. A bulky Pokemon that charges decently fast, can take a lot of damage, and wide coverage. Grass Knot for your Swampert and stuff. Moonblast for what comes into play a lot here is Cobalion, right? Because you resist the double kick and Sacred Sword, and then you can take like 3 Stone Edges, and then you just Moonblast it there. Regirock is interesting. I'm surprised Regirock is so high. It was ranked high last time too. But again, it's like a Registeel light, not as bulky, but same hard-hitting charge moves that hit at least neutral for most things on this list. Cobalion, once they got the double kick buff and the Sacred Sword on it, like Cobalion's been like a top, and same with the Verzian at 17. Both have been top metas here. Great answers to Registeel, right? Great answers to your steals. Verzian, obviously, as of grass, is an amazing interest. So Swampert and stuff like that. Cobalion, that steel typing makes it trickier. Like you add like the Swampert like ground weakness, you add the fighting weakness and stuff like that. So it's a little trickier, but it's also seems sort of better coverage overall compared to Verzian. Swampert is Swampert. Hydro Cannon, like domination is real. Earthquake is great coverage. Gliscor, I went over Gliscor, and I got a Gliscor team on here. It's one of those Pokemon that is also acting as a safe swap because of its coverage. Wing attack buff, Night Slash will hit super effective on the ghosts, Earthquake for your steals, right? So I think it is also sort of a Sims hero, I call it, kind of like Pidgeot, where like you're baiting the Night Slash a lot, and then you land an Earthquake on a steal sort of thing. And where it really, really lacks is if you get into like a Pidgeot matchup, where like you can't throw Earthquake, so they know you're throwing Night Slash, so they can just kind of like take Night Slash after Night Slash, and it's a tough matchup there. Steelix is, again, a Steel Pokemon. Steel's always tricky because it has so many resistances, which is great for it. It's just always tricky to go against. But Dragon Tail, obviously, is such a hard-hitting fast move. And Psychic Fangs, you can lower their defense, and then just Dragon Tail Psychic Fang combo there. And then Crunch is great for your like your ghosts and your psychic, right? Giratina, Trevenant, Cresselia. Charizard, again, Charizard I have on here because once you got the wing attack buff, getting to Dragon Claw faster for your Giratinas, and the Blast Burns just, those Blast Burns hurt a lot. Guzzlord's a tricky one, just because that dark typing helps and hurts so much, because you add a fighting weakness, you add a fairy weakness. Dragon Claw, against steals, you can only Dragon Tail, Dragon Claws resist, you can only throw the crunches. So like, it's a Pokemon that like if you lock into the right matchup, it's dominating. If you lock into the bad matchup, it's not. Galarian Stunfisk, again, before Registeel seems to got a bump. Galarian Stunfisk was like one of the top ranked in this thing. It's kind of like a Registeel light, just with like less hard hitting moves, but more sort of coverage moves, I would kind of say. Aurora's bumped up to the best ice type Pokemon. Powder Snow and Weather Ball spam is real on this, and Meteor Beam is a rock type move. Hits pretty hard in neutral situations. So what are we going to look at next? We are going to look at the buff that Jellicent got. So Jellicent got the Surf buff. Before, it was running either Bubble Beam, which is here, the second one, or Ice Beam. So Bubble Beam is a very bait move, but lower your opponent's attack. If you bait plus lower their attack and land a Shadow Ball, you're in a good situation. Ice Beam, I think, is just like better coverage. If you use it as a safe swap and you get like a flyer, you can hit it for super effective Ice Beams. Now it's got Surf, and my goodness, let's take a look at these matchups, because these matchups across the board increase. You're going to see a bunch of them. So Aurora, you already pick up with the Surf. You pick up Charizard with the Surf. Like, that makes sense, because those two are weak to Surf. You do better against Cofagrigus. Like, that's because this one is very bait dependent on the win, so it's like more consistency here. Let's see what else you pick up. Giratina Altered, which is kind of interesting because I think it's like sort of bait dependent as well. But like Glizcore you pick up because it's weak to Surf. You do better against Gramble because you hit for like Surf's a pretty decent hitting move. I'm surprised you pick up Gyarados. That's sort of just whatever. Muck you pick up because now you can throw, because it's half out, you can just throw those Surfs, and those Surfs are consistent. A Ninetales with Charm, you pick up that because you can just go Surf now. Stunfisk you pick up because you can go Surf. Shadow Swampert and regular Swampert you can pick up. Sylveon you can pick up, like to the tune of 28 and 17 compared to 19 and 26 with Bubble Beam, and that is very bait dependent, Bubble Beam, or 16 and 28 general with Ice Beam, and that is a huge flip in the Ultra League. So I would expect this to be much more prevalent this time around, and it is very funny because team number one was the team I hit Legend with last season, and this is an ABB style team. You use Jellicent to draw out a grass, and then you have Pidgeot punish the grass, and then your Swampert runs free. You are double weak to Electric in this situation, right? So if you see Electric on the lead, I have Bubble here because I was trying to like catch people off guard that like if you switch to, you can run Shadow, you can run Hex on this. I was doing Bubble because I was trying to catch like Obstagoon and normal typings or Darks off guard with the Bubble. But I think with the Surf now, you can probably just go straight Hex and Surf because Surf is such a hard hitting move. So you just draw that out. Pidgeot punishes, Swampert runs free in the back. It got me to Legend. I think like, I forget what I went, something like 17 and 8 on the first day to hit Legend last season. Super strong team, ABB style team. If you don't want a BB style team, team number 2 is a very balanced team. Again, Shadow Charizard is just going to be a beast because Blast Burns hit so hard on almost anything. Dragon Claw for your dragons. Cresselia as your bulky safe swap. You're going to be super weak to water, obviously, with Charizard, so you need 2 answers in the back for that. You have a Grass Knot Cresselia to deal with that plus Moonblast for coverage and is bulky, and then Trevenant is obviously your harder answer. So balanced team. Cresselia safe swap, it did very well with this team because Cress is just so dominant in this meta. All 3 of these Pokemon are dominant in this meta, and it's just a balanced team with some bulk to go with some hard-hitting Pokemon. And that is how I prefer to team build. This one was kind of a fun one that I went really well with because with so much steel around in Registeel, Cobalion, and a few others, there's not a lot of Charmers and there's not a lot of Ice types There's a few, and now that there's like a Shadow A9, you may see that a bit more. Auroras, not a ton of people, like I don't have an Auroras built up because I don't have the candies for it yet. So there's not a lot. I found there's not a lot of Ice and Charm. So what you do is you run double Dragon in the back. You draw out one of those two with your Giratina, because I mentioned it earlier. Even Giratina with like taking super effective from Charm, it's so bulky, and so I would probably run. I ran both. I would probably run Shadow Claw and Shadow Sneak just to do well in the like the fairy type situations. So, and you just spam that. You finish it off with Tapu Fini, and then your Shadow Dragonite is going to have a ton of play, especially with that superpower for steals too in the back, right? So the team AB Stealth team work very well. Obviously, if you're in a meta with that you're seeing like double Charm everywhere, don't run this team, right? But if you aren't seeing a lot of Charm or a lot of Ice, this team worked very, very well for me. And this fourth one was a viewer submitted ABB style team double flyer in the back using Gliscor as a safe swap. Again, Gliscor has the coverage with the Night Slash for the Ghost and Psychic and the Earthquake for the steals. So you're able to spam Cobalion to punish whatever sort of problem, like steals or whatever steals the main one, right? And then your Pidgeot roams free in the back. Again, I think Gliscor highly ranked is kind of bait dependent on the Night Slash. Like if you're going against the steals, baiting a Night Slash, landing an Earthquake after. So I like the team can do well, and Gliscor does have some play, but just keep in mind if you're going to run this team, this team is full of Sims heroes in Feather Dance, Pidgeot, and Night Slash, Gliscor. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, that is it. Like I said, I think there's a lot more Pokemon to play with in this meta than there is Psychic Cup, which I mentioned this morning. So I'll be probably playing this cup a bunch. Definitely going to test out. I don't know if I'll use my Legend team first, but I'm definitely going to try out the Jellicent with Surf because I think it's going to be a beast in this meta. And we'll see what else we can come up with. So that is it. Let me know in the comments below what you are going to be trying in this meta. And if you're going to be playing Psychic Cup or Ultra League. And that is it. So I appreciate watching. Appreciate the thumbs up and comments. And I will see you guys in the next one.